Good evening, how is that? For those who are joining on the replay, you won't have seen me have to restart this scope because we had a dodgy connection with Periscope. Just going to wait for people to rejoin. Hopefully they can. That's a bit weird, it was telling me something about my internet connection even though it was full whack and I've got 100 meg. Good evening, Carol. I'm just going to turn off all this other technology I've got knocking around here that might be hogging our internet connection. Let's just get that on aeroplane mode. Don't need my phone on. Nina's back. Chris is going to be here, no doubt, in a second. We're just going to let people rejoin again. For the benefit of those on the replay, hopefully this is going to be a lovely, stable connection now. We just had to restart the scope because of a dodgy connection. Tonight is book club. Welcome to the last week we're spending on Shawn Achor's The Happiness Advantage. Chris Stone Films is here. Great to see you back, Chris. We're looking tonight at a chapter called Principle 6. It's the 20-second rule, Shawn calls it, and it's how to turn bad habits into good ones by minimizing barriers to change. Sounds like a complex title, but it's not. It's really simple. This hack that we're going to teach you tonight, I've implemented into my life over the last 5 weeks and has been absolutely spot on. It's enabled me to create a positive habit that I have tried to create probably half a dozen times before, and every time I have failed until now, until I have implemented this habit. This hack in creating this habit into my life. So we're just going to give people a couple of minutes to rejoin again, let them sort themselves out and get back on the scope after we had to restart it, and then we'll begin. For those who don't know me, my name's Ross. If you're watching on the replay, appreciate you being here. I'm an actor and a voiceover artist from Manchester. I scope twice a week. Please join us live if you're on the replay. Join us next time live. I scope on a Monday night and a Wednesday night, 10 PM UK time. We do something called Motivation and Mind Hacks on a Monday, and then Book Club on a Wednesday, which is tonight. So you can see the numbers going up. People are rejoining. It looks stable now, guys. Connection looks good. So we'll give it 60 seconds and then I will begin reading you this. It's a long chapter. I'm not going to read it you all. I'm just going to read you bits of it to get the point across, and then we'll have a little discussion on how we can implement this hack into our lives. Chris says good connection. Excellent, Chris. It looks like we are spot on, which is good. I don't know what it is. Sometimes Periscope servers are just a little bit temperamental, aren't they? Which is a little bit mental. 30 more seconds, let people join, then we'll begin. I'm going to also be doing, guys, a live webinar with Chris next Thursday night at 7:30 over on the site that I run, actonthis.tv. Chris is a top director, one of the best guys in the business who will film show reels and edit show reels for you. We're going to do a live webinar, completely free to join, Q&A on what makes an amazing show reel. And if you've got any questions about your show reel, whether you're editing it, haven't filmed it yet, you want advice on the order of the clips, what would make a good show reel, be there. I'm going to put more news out on actonthis.tv about that tomorrow. Awesome. So it looks like everybody's here. We shall begin. So it starts off, and Shawn's discussing a training that he gave at Wall Street once, and he says, during one of the first trainings I ever gave on Wall Street, an impatient-looking man stood up in the back of the room and he shouted over the heads of his fellow analysts, "Shawn, I know you're from Harvard, mate." He didn't say mate, I've added that bit in. "But isn't this all a huge waste of time? Isn't positive psychology just common sense?" Now, I bet there's a lot of people who look at the work that I do out there and are like, who is this guy? What is all this positive psychology bullshit that he's putting out? It's just common sense, isn't it? But listen, because this is interesting. Shawn says he felt his heart drop into his stomach. He says, "I hadn't been in the consulting business long enough to know that being publicly challenged like this comes with the territory. Still, I gathered my wits and did my best to address the inquisitor head on. I started by telling him that positive psychology draws on ideas from many esteemed sources, ranging from ancient Greek philosophers to hallowed religious traditions to modern day writers and thinkers. What's more," I went on, "the principles and theories are then empirically tested and validated. So while some of the ideas exposed by positive psychology may very well be common sense, it's the science behind them that makes them unique and valuable." And that's what I'm all about on all of these scopes. It's always science-backed stuff. It's not bullshit, airy-fairy stuff, guys, all right? Says, he sat back down, this guy, and with a smug look on his face, and after that he says, "I moved on to the next question, trying to accept the fact that you just can't win them all. Some people you'll meet in your life, if you try and share these tips with and these hacks with, you'll realise very quickly that they're just not ready. it's not for them. You just can't win them all. You can take a horse to water. I've been there in that situation so many times where I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to continue try and coach you because you're right now uncoachable. So he says it wasn't until after the session he sat with several of the analysts over lunch did the significance of this encounter reveal itself. Do you remember that guy who stood up during your talk? One of them asked. I said that I very much did. Another analyst leaned in. He said, that guy is the most unhappy person here. It's like a rain cloud follows over his head all the time. We can't put him on any teams because he's toxic. Give me some hearts if you know someone like this. This was a turning point for me. Here was someone who had dismissed most of what I had just been saying as too obvious to even discuss, and yet apparently it wasn't obvious enough. I realised that he was the living embodiment of one of the greatest paradoxes of human behaviour. So tap the screen, give some hearts if you know people like this who will shoot down anything that's to do with positive psychology, mindfulness, being more productive, being more motivated, and yet themselves are the biggest, unhappiest bag of shite that you have ever seen in your life. They are toxic to be around. They tell you all your stuff is bullshit, and yet they're the ones who are like so unhappy, so unfulfilled, living a life they don't want to live. I've seen the hearts come through. There's a lot of people like that around, guys. Please don't be one of them. So Shawn says common sense is not common action. And this is important, okay? We might know it, but do we take action on it? It says you would be surprised if I told you. Oh no, it doesn't. It says, would you be surprised if I told you that cigarettes are not a great source of vitamin C? Or that watching hours of reality television will not dramatically raise your IQ? Probably not. Similarly, we all know that we should exercise, we should sleep 8 hours, eat healthily, and be kind to others. But does this common knowledge make doing these things any easier? Doesn't. We all know what we should do. Do we do them though? Of course not. Because in life, knowledge is only part of the battle. Without action, which is what I'm all about, knowledge is often meaningless. As Aristotle put it, to be excellent, we cannot simply think or feel excellent. We must act excellently. Yet the action required to follow through on what we know is often the hardest part. That's why even though doctors know better than anyone the importance of exercise and diet, 44% of them are overweight, which I found astounding. So doctors know they should be healthy, don't eat, smoke, all this stuff, and yet 44% of them are overweight. It's also why organisational gurus are often messy, religious leaders can be blasphemous, and why even some positive psychologists aren't happy all of the time. I work with countless business people who complain that every Monday they make the same resolution to stop procrastinating, or quit smoking, to keep up with their inbox, or start seeing their kids more, and yet every Friday they find themselves wondering where the week went and what got in their way. Is that you? Do you spend every Sunday night going, right, next week, it's my week, I'm going to start being like this tomorrow, and then next week happens and you're like, shit, I didn't do it, I've done it again, I've literally done it again. I used to be that person a long time ago. I would do that, and it'd be on a daily basis actually. I'd try and reset every day and I'd never do it. The fact of the matter is positive habits are hard to keep. They are, simple, full stop, no matter how commonsensical they may be. Like most people, Shawn says he wages the same battle every January the 1st and every January the 10th right back where he started. In fact, the New York Times reports that a whopping 80% of us break New Year's resolutions, even when we feel committed to positive change. Sustaining it for any length of time can seem nearly impossible. What New Year's resolutions have you failed in the past, guys? And what was your New Year's resolution this year? This is an interesting question. Have you kept it so far? What was your New Year's resolution and have you kept it so far? Today we are on, so diets, Carol says. Today we are on the 3rd of August. We are over 8 months into the year. Have you kept your New Year's resolution? Did you keep the diet thing going, Carol? Chris, what was yours? Nina, what was yours? Let us know what your regular gym for Carol. Are you on it still, Carol, or have you let it lapse? Let let us know, because it is like 80% of people will fail, and it's because they don't really know how to goal set. I'm going to bring out a goal setting program at the end of this year, specifically for actors, but for everybody. On and off, she says, and yes for the gym. So diet's on and off, and you are on for the gym, is that? I didn't make any, just had goals. That's good, Nina, that's cool. As long as you're smashing them out of the park and you're on track with that. So the chapter then goes on. I'm going to kind of summarise this bit for you without reading it. The chapter goes on basically to say that we are bundles of habits, and there was a famous psychologist, a chap called James somebody. What was his name? William James. There we go. And he was a Harvard psychologist, and he basically, this is like 100 years ago, he called habits daily strokes of effort, and he says a habit basically is a tendency to act, and when we act, only when we act, does it become effectively ingrained in us, in proportion to the uninterrupted frequency with which the action actually occurs. So if you want to ingrain a positive habit, it's all to do with the frequency that you carry that habit out, basically. Fanny's here, don't worry about it, Fanny. We've read a little bit of the chapter tonight, the last chapter we're reading of the happiness advantage, but we're talking about positive habit formation and a hack that I'm going to teach you guys from Shawn's book of how you can hopefully find it much more easy to form positive habits where you fell down before. So William James said, he says, a tendency to act, he wrote, only becomes effectively ingrained in us in proportion to the uninterrupted frequency in which the action actually occurs, and the brain grows to their use. In other words, habits form because our brain actually changes in response to the frequent practice of something. So remember when we look back right in week 1, how our brains are malleable and how you can teach an old dog's new tricks. Good evening, Alex. Alex is here as well. There's science behind how malleable your brain is and how you can change your thinking and your habits no matter how old you are. The brain still changes whether you are 22 or 72 or 102. You still have the capacity. Don't kid yourself with the bullshit of this is what I'm like now, I've been like this for 60 years, I can never change. Bollocks. So the chapter goes on basically to talk about we are effectively what we do. Don't worry, Alex says he just got back home from work. It's totally cool. So it says about James, it says, in fact, James had this exactly right, though it would take 100 years before neuroscientists could explain why. And he says, remember how we learned that the brain's structure and pathways are flexible and elastic. Well, it turns out that as we progress through our days learning new facts or completing new tasks and having new conversations, our brains constantly change, and we rewire our brains. There's a great little thing here. It says this is the origin of the common phrase, cells that fire together wire together, which is a great phrase. He says, with apologies to the delicate nuances of neuroscience, here's what's happening in a nutshell. Within our brains are billions upon billions of neurons, interconnected in every which way to form a complex set of neural pathways. Electrical currents travel down these pathways from neuron to neuron, delivering the messages that make up every thought and every action. The more we perform a particular action, the more connections form between the corresponding neurons, and that's where cells that fire together wire together. So the more you can do something, the more ingrained it gets in you, and the more it becomes a habit. But like we said, it's really difficult to form a habit, and we've all tried to do this. This is the start of what's going to be the hack of how we explain this, and it starts with the fact that Shawn set himself a task to learn the guitar. Alex says Ross loves the science. I do love the science, Alex. Definitely. So this is the guitar that wouldn't play itself. You might have tried to take up a musical instrument and you'll have been in the same boat as this. He says, when I first learned about the science behind this phenomenon of habit forming, I was eager to test it out. Could I really rewire my brain and create a new life habit by doing the same thing each day for weeks and weeks? It was time for an experiment. And the easiest way to do one was to make myself the subject. And this is what I've done over the last 5 weeks, and I'm going to tell you about this after this. I decided to take up the guitar once again. He'd tried before, since I already owned one and knew that I enjoyed playing it. Because common wisdom has long proposed that it takes 21 days to make a habit. I prescribe to 30. But he says, I decided to make a spreadsheet with 21 columns on it, tape it to his wall and check off each day that he played. By the end of the 3 weeks, I felt confident that A, I would have a grid full of 21 marks, and B, the guitar playing would have become an automatic, established part of my life. C, my playing would improve, and D, I would be happier because of it. 3 weeks later, Chad's on the scope. Chad Scope's here. Good evening, Chad. 3 weeks later, I pulled the grid down in disgust, staring up at 4 check marks followed by a whole lot of empty boxes, with more discouragement and embarrassment than I needed. Okay, he'd failed his own experiment, and worse, I was no closer to telling potential dates that I was a musician. We're talking about positive habits, Chad Scope, and reading a book called The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. And he's gone on an experiment to try and make himself form the positive habit of playing a guitar by trying to play it every single day for 21 days. He got 4 days through, and the rest of the time he just failed. So he says, I was shocked, depressed even, at how quick I had been to give up. A positive psychologist should be better at following his own advice. Of course, the feelings of failure only deepen when you realise you're now a depressed positive psychologist. The guitar was sitting in the closet a mere 20 seconds away, but I couldn't make myself take it out and play it. What had gone wrong? It turns out that the telling words here are make myself. Without realising it, I had been fighting the wrong battle, one I was bound to lose unless I changed my strategy. And he goes on in this chapter to talk about willpower and how we have like a finite pool of willpower, effectively, where every task is drawn from. So if he talks about multiple tasks that aren't related to each other, they still draw from the same pool of willpower. And there's been scientific studies done on this where they've put guys who are really hungry in a room with biscuits, told them they can't eat the biscuits, and then they've given them a puzzle to solve. And they found that those who are hungry are using their willpower not to eat the biscuits. It takes their mind off the puzzle and they're really bad at it. Whereas those who aren't hungry just nail the puzzle. So although they seem like two completely different tasks, don't eat the biscuits and complete this puzzle, they're completely interrelated because of the willpower pool that you have in your head. Okay, every task draws from the same pool. So he goes on to talk about how we go for the path of least resistance, effectively, in our lives. And this is why we fail at habits, because we put too much distance between us and that positive habit that we want. His guitar was in the closet. Maybe if you are looking to form a gym habit, and then Carol, you said about the gym before and diets and things like that, and maybe you haven't stuck to that. A lot of people join a gym that's like a 20-minute drive from their house. If there's a gym that's closer to your house so you can walk to, join that one, because that then becomes the path of least resistance, rather than sitting in a chair and not going to the gym that's 20 minutes away, which is the path of least resistance. We always default to the path of least resistance, and we often hate ourselves for it because we don't do the things that we need to do, and then we feel even worse about ourselves for not doing them. How many people have said, right, I'm going to do this today, this today, and this today, sat in a chair, watched TV for a bit, felt so bad that they watched TV for a bit, they've got even a little bit more depressed and disappointed in themselves, that they've gone, I'm going to sit here a bit longer. Right, now you end up just sitting in a chair for 4 or 5 hours, hating yourself, and you realise that you've got no more reward for the path of least resistance. You would have got, Carol says very true, you would have got loads of reward out of going and doing the thing that was harder, but unfortunately we don't have what Shawn calls in the book a leisure boss. We often get more out of our leisure activities or our work activities than the free time we get spending doing nothing. But it's harder to engage our brains and our skills and our talents because it's not the path of least resistance. So how do we make the thing that we want to do the path of least resistance? And this is the hack. And Shawn says he calls it redirecting the path, the 20-second rule. And this is what you can implement in your life. And I'm going to tell you how I implemented it in my life the last 5 weeks and how it's transformed a big area of my life. So he says, in allowing, he's talking about something that I haven't read, you guys. I won't read that bit, you'll be confused. So he says, could the psychological mechanisms that were derailing people's productivity also explain why I had failed to follow my regime of guitar playing. Okay, had the path of least resistance led me astray? I thought back to that initial experiment. I'd kept my guitar tucked away in the closet, out of sight and out of reach. It wasn't far out of the way, of course. My apartment isn't that big. But just those 20 seconds of extra effort it took to walk to the closet and pull out the guitar had proved to be a major deterrent. I tried to overcome this barrier with willpower, but after only 4 days, my reserves were completely dried up. If I couldn't use self-control to ingrain the habit, at least not for an extended period, I now wondered, what if I could eliminate the amount of activation energy it took to get started? Clearly, it was time for another experiment. I took the guitar out of the closet, I bought a $2 guitar stand and set it up in the middle of my living room. Nothing had changed, except that now, instead of being 20 seconds away, the guitar was in immediate reach. Okay, 3 weeks later, I looked up at the habit grid with 21 proud check marks. So for those who are just joining the scope, he failed at this. He did it for 4 days. He could only tick 4 check marks off his 21 days last time he tried, when his guitar was in the cupboard. This time he smashed it every single day. What I had done here, essentially, was put the desired behaviour on the path of least resistance. So it actually took less energy and effort to pick up and practice the guitar than it did to avoid it. I like to refer to this as the 20-second rule, because lowering the barrier to change by just 20 seconds was all it took to help me form a new life habit. In truth, it often takes a bit more than 20 seconds to make a difference, and sometimes it can take much less, but the strategy itself is universally applicable. Lower the activation energy for habits you want to adopt and raise it for habits you want to avoid. The more we can lower or even eliminate the activation energy for our desired actions, the more we enhance our ability to jumpstart positive change. So it does work in reverse. It talks about experiments where people have literally frozen their credit cards in blocks of ice and put them in the freezer to make it so much harder for them to spend money online. People who are addicted to shopping but didn't want to cut their cards up might still want to use them down the line, froze them in ice, put them in the freezer so that they would literally have to get a hairdryer on and put in the microwave or chip away at them if they wanted to buy something. So they had made the path of least resistance much harder. There wasn't, the resistance was much higher for them to do that thing they didn't want to do. So if you want to up the resistance for things you want in your life, you can do that, but equally you want to put the things you do want to create as habits on that path of least resistance as much as possible. And I'm going to talk about what I've done in a second, because I've done exactly this. So he says, set the rules of engagement. Whether you're trying to change your habits at work or at home, the key to reducing choice is setting and following a few simple rules. Psychologists call these kind of rules second order decisions, because they are essentially decisions about when to make decisions, like deciding ahead of time where and how I was going to work out in the morning. And this ties into what I have done. So what I've done over the last 5 weeks, I wanted to become a morning person, and I wanted to work out in the morning. It was kind of forced on me a little bit because my mate Shawn, who I work out with, is having his second baby in September. Didn't look like he was going to have any time at all to work out in the afternoons when we used to work out. In effect, I was staying up very late working till maybe 1, 2 in the morning on the websites that I run, and I was getting up maybe 10 in the morning, and then I was working out at 5 really, after I'd kind of done a day's work on the website. Some days I wouldn't even kind of shower till I'd got back from the gym, so I never really felt fully awake during the day. It wouldn't matter because I would just sit here in front of a computer on my own, but if I was going out I'd have a shower obviously. But we wanted to switch this up, and I've tried 3 times over the last 5 years to get up at 6 a.m. every morning and nail the gym and have a great morning routine and become that morning person who's energized and gets loads of work done. And I've done it every time for maybe 2 weeks, and then after that I've resented it. I found it harder. I've let myself have that off morning where you're like, oh, I'm just going to lie in bed for a bit longer. And ultimately I've gone back to my old ways because the path of least resistance was staying in bed. Okay, it was much harder to optimum time, many say, for working out. Well, it is funny, particularly for men, because testosterone levels are higher in the morning. than they are during the day. So if you want to work out as a guy and get better results, testosterone is key to that. It really needs to be on your side. Working out in the morning is much better for you. But I tried it. One time I tried it. Honestly, I went to the gym, I exerted too much and I was sick. I had to go to the bathroom and be sick. So I thought, I'm just not a morning person. I just can't do this 6 a.m. club stuff. So I read this and I was like, right, how can I implement this 20-second rule into my regime? So what I do is, well, what I did for the first night is I got my gym gear out, okay? I lay out my track pants and the shirt I was going to work out in on the side in my room. I counted out the vitamins. I take some multivitamins and stuff in the morning. I counted out those the night before so I could just put them in my pocket in the morning and when I go downstairs, take them with a drink. I put my contact lenses out so that they were already there. Socks, shoes at the end of the bed so I could slip them on straight away. Then I need to eat before I work out. I always need to eat first thing in the morning. It's just a habit of mine that gets me going. So I have porridge in the morning. I set up on the cooker downstairs a pan with a wooden spoon in it. Got my porridge next to it, some raisins next to it, the bowl I was going to put it in with the spoon in it. Night before preparation is key to many successes, says Fanny. It's exactly what I did. I got my gym gloves out and I put them next to the front door along with my water bottle and my protein shake powder pre-put into the shaker that I use. Literally every single thing that I could do to give myself the least resistance in the morning, I did. For the first 3 days, habit kind of like gravity was on my side. I was excited about doing it. I was like, this is going to be quite easy for the first couple of days because we're excited about it. By day 4, 5, I could definitely feel it. I was feeling a bit tired when I was waking up and I was like, right, okay, I knew this is going to be hard. Let's keep at it. Today is day like 35. And I've worked out every single morning at 6:45. That's when I get to the gym. I get up at 6:15. I'm at the gym for 6:45. Monday to Friday, every day for the last 5 weeks. And I would never, ever have thought that possible. Fanny says, fantastic turnaround. Round of applause from Alex. Thank you. Honestly, I'm not saying it to go, oh, look at me. I'm saying it to say, like, seriously, guys, I never thought I could do this. But implementing this 20-second rule, which was like my own experiment, Shawn said it worked for him with the guitar. I was like, okay, well, will it work for me with the gym? Has absolutely 100% worked. Now, you know, it's such a part of what I do, I don't even think about it. It's because it becomes automatic. It's as automatic as it was getting up at 9:30, 10 o'clock every day. It takes a real shift in thinking and habit, though. Definitely does. And it also takes a shift in being aware that it's going to be tough at times and being prepared for that. And when you realise habit gravity is kicking in, it's pulling you back down before you reach a critical zone called escape velocity around about day 28 to day 30. Going to be harder in the winter, says Nina. It definitely will be, absolutely, but I'm hoping by then, again, I'm just kind of like on autopilot. What I find uncanny now is I very often wake up 2 minutes before my alarm, automatically. I'm doing that now for the gym, all sorted night before, says Carol. Yes, seriously, it's massive. It's a massive, massive advantage. I often wake up at like 6:13 and I'm ready for my alarm to go off. And I mean, I've never in my life got up the minute my alarm's gone off, or even a couple of minutes before it. I've always kind of gone snooze, 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 25 minutes, snooze. Whereas now it's like literally bang, get up, this is your habit, this is what you do, and it's just on autopilot. Yes, you have trained your pattern, says Fanny. Totally. So what I suggest to you guys, and what I want us to think about, and I hope you can come up with some ideas now, is for other people, or for you, what are the things where you can implement this 20-second rule that you're trying to do that you find difficult? Maybe for you, you know, is in your career, and it's like, I want to contact more casting directors, but I find it laborious getting their details. I don't know what to write, and I can't think, and I've got to organise it on my computer. The 20-second rule there for you could be, right, okay, well, you know, open up your email client on your computer the night before, you know, and close all your browsers down and everything else that you have. So when you open your laptop or you turn your computer in the morning, all you've got is a plain screen with a blank email, you know, maybe with the email address already in the email column, you know, the send to field. You know, so, or maybe you go, okay, I'm going to set up, you know, I really want to start writing that screenplay, but you know, that's you know, going to be so much work. Well, how about, you just do a section at a time. You create a folder on your computer, and you just get the structure of everything. You create a few blank documents. So you're like, okay, right, I've got the foundation done. Now I just have to go in, open one, and start typing. Nina says Spotlight do free contests. Isn't that uncanny? So we lost the listings directory on Act on This a few weeks ago because that was voted on effectively by the community, and now it's free on Spotlight. It's almost like I knew it was going to happen that way, wasn't it? But I didn't. I swear I didn't. Crazy. But it's but yeah, I thought that's quite cool, because that means we all still get all access to that, and it means that I didn't have to spend $2,500 updating the website, so I can at least put that into the features you guys are going to get real enjoyment from. Type it up ready the night before on Word, copy and paste in the email in the morning. Absolutely, Carol. Definitely. Fanny, I missed a comment by you. Put it in again. I missed what you said then. Unfortunately, I couldn't read it in time. But yeah, if you want to say, there's people I know who want to get into juicing, and they're like, oh, I just can't be bothered getting it all out in the morning and cleaning it all and all this kind of stuff, and get that done the night before. Get your juicer out, get your fruit and your veg all compartmentalized. So all you've got to do in the morning, get your glass ready, is come down, whack it in, turn it on, pour it out. What can you do in your life? Some people sleep in their gym clothes. I don't really like that, but some people do that so that they just get out of bed in the morning and they're ready to go to the gym. Think about the little things that you can do that will just put you on the least path of resistance to the things you want to achieve, and how can you up that path of resistance for the things you don't want to do? How can you freeze your credit cards in ice so you don't spend money, or whatever it is that you want? That gets easier too, says Carol. I can clean mine in no time. More you use it, the easier it is. Great. Morning is optimum time to do all those rank jobs we have been avoiding in general. Yeah, so in positive psychology, a lot of people call it eating the frog. You do the hardest thing in the morning first because you've got the most willpower, definitely. And if it's manual stuff, guys particularly, do that in the morning because you've got more testosterone in your body. You're going to be stronger ultimately and have more energy. Morning routine, says Fanny. Yeah, totally. It is about creating a great morning routine. Now my morning routine is get all that stuff. I literally walk out the house at 6:45 on the dot. It doesn't change any day. It might waver a minute either side, but it's almost exactly the same. It's quite funny because I see the same people at the same place when I'm walking to the gym as well. A motorbike comes out of a road with this guy on it every morning at the same time. The bus runs like clockwork at that time in the morning. It passes me almost at the same point every single day. A bit crazy sometimes. You think, God, am I in a parallel universe? But other people obviously have these morning routines as well. It really, really works. And then I get to the gym, I do my workout, and then I walk home with a podcast on. And as Tony Robbins calls it, that's classed as net time, no extra time. So I get my education in the morning through podcasts on positive psychology or business as I walk home from the gym. So it thus takes me no longer, I'd have to take time out of my day to learn those things. It's part of what I do on the way home that takes no extra time. I've got to walk that walk anyway. So that's something that by the time I get back, I'm like super raring to go, jump in the shower, totally awake. I've already had my breakfast, I've already worked out, I've done some learning. It's great. I can't tell you how much this hack has changed my life massively. Watch a 6-hour talk with Mr. Robbins, different level, isn't he? Tony's great. Tony's absolutely, probably eight and a half years ago, was definitely one of 2 or 3 people who got me so fascinated by the power of positive psychology. And like Shawn says in his book, you will get those people who just are like, what's all this bollocks? It's just common sense, isn't it? And they are the unhappiest people you will probably meet. So don't listen to them. Try and coach them if you can. Try and introduce them to this kind of stuff. It will massively enhance their lives. Sometimes they're just not ready for it, and you just have to, wait for them and just let them be. So I'll read you the last paragraph of the book. It says, "It's all in the shoes. I can't help but sense some arrogance within him." In Tony, I don't know. He's done pretty well, hasn't he? I think he's very genuine. He's very emotional. He cries a lot of stuff, a lot of things. I think he's very in touch emotionally. He's not had an easy life at all, but now he is a billionaire, so maybe there's a little bit of that with it. But he's walked the walk. I don't think he's a snake oil salesman. I think he... I don't buy into all of his stuff. I think some of his events are a little bit happy clappy, jump up and down. But a lot of what he teaches, the foundations of his work, is very good. So he says, so Shawn says, this book, and this is what we're going to end on this entire book, guys. This book is full of ways we can capitalize on the happiness advantage. But without actually putting those strategies into action, they remain useless. Like a set of expensive tools that sit locked behind a glass case. Lulu's here. Good evening, Lulu. The key to their use to permanent positive change is to create habits that automatically pay dividends without continued concerted effort or extensive reserves of willpower. The key to creating these habits is ritual. Repeated practice until the actions become ingrained in your brain's neural chemistry. And the key to daily practice is to put your desired actions as close to the path of least resistance as humanly possible. Yes, 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 says Fanny. Identify the activation energy, the time, the choices, the mental and physical effort they require, and then reduce it. If you can cut the activation energy for those habits that lead to success, even by as little as 20 seconds of time, it won't be long before you start reaping their benefits. The first step, metaphorically and sometimes literally, is just to get your shoes on. And that's like that's the fourth step of my morning. It goes, get up, put your pants on and your shirt, put your socks on, put your shoes on. Literally, I'll have my shoes on within 3 minutes of getting out of bed. And like I say, that morning routine and the gym has changed my life, guys, like so much. I can't tell you how much. That's why I was really sort of keen to read this chapter to you tonight. So just have a think. In your life, how can you lower the path of resistance to what you want and the habits you want to create? And how can you up that path of resistance to cut out the habits you don't want in your life anymore? If you want to read the rest of the chapters and all the other principles, we've only looked at 3 of the principles, I think, over the last 4 weeks in the Happiness Advantage. If you're watching on the replay, click the link below. You'll go straight through to amazon.co.uk to buy the book. If you're in the States, get it from amazon.com, obviously. Or if you're watching live now, amazon.co.uk is $8.99, it says on the back. I'm sure I didn't pay that. I think I paid less than that. I paid about £6, I think. But it is a great read. If you don't like reading, if that's a habit you haven't formed yet, get it on audiobook. Do what you need to do in order to learn these principles, because they are powerful, seriously, and they apply to every part of your life, your acting career, your life, your relationships, your emotional mastery, your productivity, your motivation, absolutely everything. You can apply it to every area of your life. And as we know, what do we say? Finish this off for me. Every part of your life, see if you've been listening over the last 10 months. What do I say? Every part of your life, fill in the blanks now. Surely some of you out there should know what I was going to say. I say it all the time. Your life affects every part of your life. Alex is first up. Prize for you. Yeah, every part of your life affects every part of your life. If you're happier, you're more motivated, you're more productive, ultimately you're more successful. Your relationships flourish, you've got more in the well to give to other people, you're a better person to be around, you then have more friends, you know, you inspire other people, which gives you significance, makes you confident, walk taller. Seriously, it's like every part of your life affects every part of your life. Don't ever forget that, and don't ever feel, if you're not working 100% of your acting career, that you're not working on your acting career. If you're working at becoming a better person, a more rounded, emotionally mastered person, you are working on your acting career. Even if you're going through shit right now and having a terrible time, whatever battle you are facing, let's be honest, we are all battling something at some time. I got a phone call off my brother today. This was shit. I got a phone call from my brother. He went, mate, like, seriously, I've been having the worst chest pains ever. I'm completely breathless. He was like, what was Dad's symptoms of a heart attack? Because our dad died of a heart attack. All of my dad's side of his family, it was probably lifestyle related, because they were all from Scotland years ago, where everything was fried, everybody drank. all my dad's family, his brothers and sisters, died of heart attacks very early, some of them even in their 30s. My brother was like 39 and he was panicking, going, shit, is there some kind of like congenital heart thing in our family? Trust me, that takes your eye off the ball completely, in terms of, you know, before that I'm like, right, yeah, everything's hunky-dory, and then I'm like, shit, like, my brother's 39, we're dead close, is he ill? That really, you know, kind of rattles you, so you're battling something at some point. But that, finding out that news, he went to the doctor, he's all fine, by the way, guys. Everything is good. He torn some cartilage in one of his ribs, so it's alright. But that shocks you, that shakes you. However, that may seem like it has nothing to do with my acting career, right? If I ever act a scene out where someone rings me with some news like, shit, something is wrong, I now know exactly how that feels, exactly how I reacted, you know, the emotions involved there. That part of my life today affected every part of my life, including my acting career. You know, I've experienced a different emotion that I can then recall. It's not an emotion I wanted to experience, but even if you're going through shit right now, my point is, you can use this for good at some point down the line, you know, in your acting career or whatever part of your life. It might make you more empathetic with people, understand people better. It's going to make you a better person. Some of our biggest advantages spawn from our biggest adversity, ultimately, and we learn way more from the bad shit than we do the good shit, unfortunately. That's just life and the way that it is. It's easy to be optimistic, positive, have a great morning routine, you know, implement these positive habits, this 20-second rule, when every part of your life's great. Of course it is. The challenge comes in doing this stuff when life isn't that great right now, and that's what separates the winners from the losers. You either just sit down, take the shit, get buried, you know, take that path of least resistance, don't go to the gym, don't be happy, don't go out, don't meet people, don't make your mark on the world, have an impact, or you learn from what we're talking about, implement everything we're talking about, and you go out there and you go, right, you know what, bring it on, let's have it. The choice is yours. The most powerful thing you have in your arsenal is the power of choice, and you get to make that choice every single day. So I'll leave you with that, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be back on Monday with motivation and mind hacks. Alex says loves it. Excellent, Alex. I don't know what the book's going to be for next week, guys. I've ordered a great book today. I've got another book called Ego is Your Enemy. It's a great book to look at. I bought the book on the Dear Me, 16 letters to my 16-year-old self. We might be able to look at that. I bought another book today. I can't even remember what it's called. 10 Principles of something. I don't know. I'm buying books all the time. I love it. So yeah, I'll pick a great book for us to read next week. I'll let you know what that is. And my podcast, 5 to Thrive, the Act on This 5 to Thrive podcast, will be out on iTunes, a new episode on Friday in 2 days' time. These are the 5 to Thrive episodes are mini periscopes that are audio based, similar lessons to what we're learning on these periscopes that we do. Life hacks, often inspired by something that's happened to me that week, something that I've implemented and has either worked for me or hasn't, so that you can learn from that and and play along. So if you haven't subscribed, go to iTunes, search for Act on This TV, all one word. Please subscribe. I'll deliver a free episode to your device every single week. Leave a review. I need some reviews, guys. If you've not left a review, there's 9 5-star reviews on there at the moment, which is lovely. Could do with a few more. The more reviews I get, the more easily it is for me to spread the word, get the podcast out there. The more people are going to listen, and the better community we're going to form here. Next Thursday is the live webinar with Chris Stone. I'll put the registration page up on actonthis.tv tomorrow. If you're watching this on the replay, that will be today. You'll be able to register for that already, and that's happening on Thursday, which will be the 9th, 10th, 11th, I think, Thursday the 11th of August. If the 11th is Thursday, it's the 11th. It's going to be at 7:30. You'll go to actonthis.tv/live in order to watch that. It's going to be all about show reels. Thank you, Fanny. She says it is. It's going to be all about show reels. And if you've got any questions, that's the place to get them answered. See you Saturday when I find the place, checking out where the place is now. Oh, we've got the meetup, the Manchester meetup this Saturday, 11 a.m. till about 1 p.m. at the theatre called Home in Manchester. It's right near Deansgate Station, Carol. If you get the train in, get to Deansgate, it's a 20-second walk. Alex, you're coming, are you? Brilliant, excellent. Love to see people there. That's absolutely awesome. There is a London meetup as well. If you go to the Facebook group, there's a London meetup for those who are down south happening later on this month. That's run by Warren, who's legend, and Jen, two great actors we've got in the Act on This community as well. So please join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Act on This TV. Right, gonna go to bed. Got to get my morning routine in, haven't I? Got to get up at 6:15, get my porridge, get out there, do the workout. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you all. Really appreciate you on the replay as well. Thanks for spending this time with me. Implement that 20-second rule into your life. Go out there, create positive habits, and get shit done. Bye for now.